Welcome. If you're a woman who has a sense that there's more out there for you, you're in the right place. I'm Whitney Baker, host of the Electric Ideas podcast. Somewhere along the line of work and kids, life carried on, but I lost track of my truth. I'm on a reflective journey, and that's what this podcast is all about. Each week, I interview a woman who is lighting her own path and offering others hope. Before our conversation ends, we'll share a reflective question for you to explore. Sometimes all we need is a jolt, a fresh idea, an aha moment that connects us to a sense of possibility. This, my friends, is what I call an electric idea. I'm Whitney Baker from Electric Ideas, and this is a mini jolt, a short episode where I share quick tips and reflections to light you up with a greater sense of what's possible for you and your life. Today, I'm talking about a topic that I'm continuously learning about and practicing, and that I know from feedback that many women struggle with, and that is living in the present moment. Maybe you've noticed meditation and mindfulness become more mainstream topics, which, side note, I think is fantastic. We hear phrases like, live in the now, or people often say things like, we only have the present moment. But in my experience, living in the present moment is something many people intellectually gel with, maybe aspire to do more of. But when it comes to the honest demands of the modern woman who is balancing children, household, work, community, I found that women can really benefit from slightly more tangible practices versus being in this other space of almost intellectually telling themselves, oh, I should be in the moment, or shaming themselves when they're not. If you're a woman who struggles to live in the moment, it makes total sense. I hope you can be compassionate to yourself because our modern world makes it pretty tricky. For example, we got cell phones and laptops to make work and communicating easier, but in many ways, they make life more complicated because there's constant opportunities for distraction and always competition for our precious attention. I also witness so many women and my friends and my family and my community who are managing households, raising children, contributing to the world in all kinds of beautiful paid and unpaid capacities, but who also sometimes feel like they're doing so much that it becomes a bit of a stressy blur. There's this prevalent cultural norm that we as women are supposed to be master jugglers and multitasking queens, but we have to decide for ourselves if living life that way makes us feel expansive or if it feels us leaving frazzled, cranky, or dissatisfied with our lives. There are so many practices that can support you living more in the present. Today, I'm going to share a handful that have truly moved the needle for me. So practice number 1, quit overscheduling. I've learned the hard way that my worst moments, both professionally and personally, are when I'm overbooked. And this has been a hard lesson for me to truly digest. I'm an ambitious person and historically have a propensity to dream up and pack in a litany of both fun and personal care and productive tasks into my days. But it turns out this usually led to me feeling rushed, thinking about what's next, and ultimately feeling shortchanged. I was probably also under the grip of the false notion, which had been culturally baked into me, that the more I did, the better I'd feel. If that sparks anything for you, I encourage you to get curious about how that's lived out in your life. Think back to work meetings of the past when I was booked back to back and how distracted I would be thinking about where I needed to race off to next with my laptop still open. Are these situations oftentimes avoidable? Yes, but I do think we have an opportunity to question the notion that we're going to feel better about our days and more satisfied with our lives if we pack more in. Oftentimes, it's the opposite. If we're mentally time traveling to B and C while we're in A, we're robbing ourselves of the gift and possibility A holds. One of my teachers, Patricia Holland of Brown University, made a comment recently that really stuck with me about living in the moment. And it was something along the lines of when we skate past the present moment, we never really know what we're missing. That way of thinking about it really hit me because I don't think any of us want to feel like we're skipping over our lives. In her book called Do Less, Kate Northrup talks a lot about the relationship between how we approach scheduling our lives and our ability to be present in our lives. She says, the ingenious thing about being present is that it's a total shortcut to doing less. When we're present, we aren't so obsessed with needing to do more. We find more satisfaction in small things, and we are more easily able to unhook from the false promise that more, doing or stuff or status, will actually bring us more joy. In fact, the complete opposite is true. Less doing and more being here where we are will bring us more joy. I really enjoyed this passage and wanted to share it with you because it encapsulates my deeper why and motivation for unhooking from being overscheduled. So if this idea of intentionally not overscheduling yourself has your interest, here are a few additional simple practices you can explore. You can add buffer time to your schedule. So for example, when clients or other outside parties book a call with me, it's impossible for them to schedule back-to-back meetings. I always give myself buffer space. Something else I'm working on right now is giving myself adequate time to get places. At first glance, this might not feel like it has anything to do with being in the present moment, but in my experience, it really does. Because when I slip into that rushed racing sensation, trying to get ready quickly or get out the door, I'm probably distracted and I'm not really paying attention to what I'm doing. And if I'm walking somewhere with that same rushed, distracted energy, I'm probably not noticing or appreciating very much in that walk because my mind is obsessed with whether or not I'm going to be late. And when I'm carrying that energy with me, when I finally do arrive somewhere, I usually have some adrenaline and cortisol pumping through my body. So it takes longer to actually settle in, relax, and be present in my final destination. This practice of avoiding overscheduling naturally leads into a second practice that can support our ability to live in the present moment, which I call segment intending. Segment intending is a practice that encourages you to pause and mentally close out on one activity before moving on to the next, and to set a clear intention before you move from A to B. So my experience in practicing this is that you can create a mental reset. You might picture this like closing one tab on your computer before opening another. And when one is closed, you give yourself a minute to be clear on what tab you're opening next and setting an intention for why you're even opening this tab. This analogy works with any area of life. We all know how easy it is to get caught up in the whirlwind of tasks. You're distracted by one thing, pulled into another. Maybe you start a pile of laundry and then you suddenly wonder where your day went. And let me be super clear before I go on that this is a practice. Unless you're superhuman, being present all the time in your life is unrealistic. But this practice of segment intending really invites us to pause, get clear on what we're doing next, and set an intention. If this is a practice that's new to you and something you might want to explore, a powerful place to start is in times in your day when you're going from completing tasks, either at work or at home, to actually wanting to spend quality time with friends or family. Can you give yourself a beat between those segments of your day and consciously shut out of the mental energy of what you're working on and choose to bring your present full attention to this next segment of your day along with a beautiful intention? So for example, if you were going to apply this to your actual life, let's say traffic was terrible, you've been flying home from work and you're stressed and maybe you had a bad day. It would be really easy to park your car, rush inside, and bring that energy into your evening. But what if you gave yourself a second to pause, even 30 seconds, to close out on that segment and set an intention for the rest of your evening? Maybe your intention could be something like, I intend to leave work-related thoughts and stresses behind and fully engage with my family. Or another example in this same scenario of an intention could be, I intend to relax and recharge tonight and to contribute to a sense of peace in my home environment. So I hope this practice of segment intending is something you give yourself permission to play around with. Let it be light. Don't put the pressure of the world on yourself to use this practice in every moment of your day. Don't scold yourself for falling into very human habits of rushing from task to task or getting distracted. Also pay attention to if it feels like you're more in control of your own time and life, because that's way more empowering than feeling like we're in reactive mode to the energy and the hustle and bustle of the outside world, because you're the only person who gets to decide where your attention goes. So just to quickly recap, here are 2 important takeaways I hope you have from this episode. Number 1, overscheduling can truly impact your ability to be present because it creates a constant state of rush and distraction. If your schedule is packed with back-to-back commitments, you often find yourself mentally jumping to the next task before you finish the one you're on, because it prevents you from fully engaging in the present moment. Because instead of appreciating and experiencing the task at hand or the conversation you're in the middle of, you're preoccupied with what's coming next. So if this is bringing you a sense of awareness that you're living in a constant state of anticipation and hurriedness, I invite you to just simply pay a little attention to how it's making you feel. And your second takeaway is understanding how powerful a role segment intending can play in your ability to be present. Segment intending is a practice that will allow you to be more present because it encourages you to pause, close out of one activity mentally, and set clear intentions for the next part of your day without everything just bleeding together. I always end my episodes with an opportunity for reflection. So here's a prompt you can explore next time you're planning out your week or even your day. When you're tempted to cram your schedule, especially if it's with things you're not pumped about, ask yourself this: who gets to experience the best version of me when my schedule is overfull? That's all for today, but I do have a sincere from the heart ask of you today. Would you be willing to take a moment to leave an honest review of the Electric Ideas podcast, either in the Apple app or wherever you're streaming? It's become increasingly clear to me how important it is to have reviews because it really helps other people find the show. Thank you in advance. And if you'd like to leave a review and you can't figure out how, because I have had people reach out to me and tell me they just can't figure it out, just email me and I will gladly explain it to you. You can reach me at Whitney@myelectricideas.com. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you have an inspired day. I'm so glad you joined me today. If you're looking for more, feel free to connect with me on Instagram at @WhitneyWoman. And if you enjoyed the show, I invite you to support me by leaving a review or sharing it with a friend. Hope you have an inspired day.